Hi everybody, welcome to the Manifold channel. Today we're going to take a look at how to use drag and drop to open projects in Manifold System Release 9 and in Manifold Viewer, and also how to use drag and drop to import data from files and databases from Windows Explorer, or to link data from files and databases in Windows Explorer. We're looking at Manifold System Release 9 as a desktop, and we just popped it open, so it's opened as a blank project with a blank desktop right here with a few tips. And these are the tips that we're going to work with. Drag and drop files into the project pane to import data. Drag and shift drop files into the project pane to link data. And all this works in the free Manifold viewer as well. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to resize this window here to provide room to put a Windows Explorer window here right next to it. We're going to drag and drop files from this Windows Explorer window into this Manifold window here. And the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to open up a project. So Manifold projects end in .map, and these are basically databases that are inside that file. So when we, if we want to open the Mexico map project, we just drag it and drop it into the project pane here in the Manifold desktop, and it opens up. Pop open the map component. You can see this is the standard demo map that's used in a lot of Manifold demonstrations and videos. And what I'm going to do is to refresh the project pane. I'm just going to click New here to create a new project. Save changes. No, we're not going to save changes. That's just a quick way of restarting it from scratch to demonstrate how to drag and drop stuff into the project. Remember, if we want to open a project, we just drag and drop the project file into the project pane, and it pops open. Here's the Manifold World Volcanoes project. If we have an existing project and we haven't changed anything in that project, when you drag and drop another Manifold project like this erase command project, it just simply opens it automatically. This is the project that was used in the video with the erase command. It shows there's the Great Lake maps, Great Lakes map. Here's the map that shows CAD format work with Manifold, and here's a map that was used in the Asia portion of that video. So you can see all this stuff just works automatically. If you change anything in here, for example, let's let's add a comms component or something like that, and now we've changed something in the project. If we drag and drop a new project into that window, it'll prompt us to ask for save changes because it now knows we've changed something in it, so it's giving us a chance to save any changes before we overwrite. Click No, and it just goes ahead and opens that Mexico map project for us. Super. What we've just learned how to do is how to open up a project. If we like, we can open up more than one project. So let's say we wanted to open up all three of these projects. We're going to drag and drop them into the same project window. What Manifold will do is it'll open them all at once. It'll bring in all the layers from all the different projects, and it'll rename things as necessary. For example, it'll iterate the names. So, for example, where there's two things called map or map 3 or map 2, it'll add a number to that so all the different layers, even if they're the same name, can coexist within the same project because it'll just change the names for slightly. And that's pretty cool that it'll do this. It's a great way to import data from several different projects at the same time into a new project. Or if we like to keep those projects separate, what we can do is we can link them into the project. Remember, drag and shift drop files into the project pane to link them. So if we drag and then shift drop, you can see when I press the shift key, this little logo in the mouse cursor changes from an X to a arrow. If we drag and shift drop, we link the projects in. And what we've just done is we've linked those projects in as data sources into the into this project. Here's the Mexico project, here's the World Volcanoes project, and here's the Erase Command project with Great Lakes. So that's easy enough to do. Remember, we to open a project, we just drag and drop it into the map. To link the project, we drag and shift drop into the map. And the same thing works for ordinary files. So let's say, for example, we open up a new project like this and we want to populate it with data from, say, a shapefile. We just take the shapefile and drag it and drop it into the project pane. And that imports data from the shapefile. This data is now resident in the project file. It's no longer in the shapefile. There's no connection between this drawing and the shapefile. It's been actually imported. That's different from older style GIS packages like ArcGIS Pro or QGIS, which don't really have the ability to import stuff into their GIS packages. What they do is they always leave the data linked into the original file format. In Manifold, you can actually import stuff into it. So, for example, once we import data from this shapefile, we can delete the shapefile, and this data is still going to stay here because it's now in the Manifold project. If we save it in Manifold format, like we have here with the Mexico map. So, for example, this Mexico map that we opened up, let's drag and shift drop that in there. This drawing that's in here, this Mexico drawing and the attribute table for that drawing, that data is actually resident inside this Mexico.map file. That's why the map file is about 3 megabytes in size. It's not stored in anything separate. It's stored in the actual map file. If we take this map file and copy it and or send it by internet to a different computer, all that data travels with it because it's in the map file. And likewise, if we import data from a shapefile into the map file, that data stays in the map file as well. You might ask, well, okay, I kind of like the idea of leaving the data in the shapefile. Can I do that? And the answer is, yeah, sure, you can do that too. Let's start afresh here. Save changes, no. And to do that, you just drag and all right. Let's do one file at a time. Drag and shift drop the shapefile into the project. And now what we've done is we've linked the shapefile. And here you can see it now appears, the name of it appears with this little database cylinder that indicates it's been linked. And when we pop up in the drawing, this data in this drawing that we're working with here is still resident in the shapefile. So if you were to do something like to select a bunch of points and then click delete, we'd be actually deleting those points, editing the shapefile in place. Or if we were to edit the the attribute table for it, and here we would be editing the shapefile in place because the data is actually still stays resident in the shapefile. It's not in the project file. This is how most GIS packages work. When you're editing the data, you're actually editing data in the shapefiles. Now, what's inconvenient about that, of course, is that if we were to save this project and then we just took the project file and sent the project through internet to some other computer, it wouldn't have the data in it. We'd have to send the shapefile with it as well, and we'd have to maintain the sort of the relative paths. That's a big inconvenience. The other inconvenience, of course, is that shapefiles are pretty stupid. It's a really stupid and slow format, so they're not particularly convenient to use. Be that as it may, with Manifold you have the choice. You can either import data into Manifold or you can link it into Manifold. And you don't have to do it one file at a time. So for example, let's say we want to take this XLS files of UNESCO sites, this shapefile, this GPackage file, this GeoJSON file, the Mexico map. Here's a CSV file with a list of Civil War battle sites, and just for the heck of it, let's pick a couple of big images. If we want, we can import all this stuff into Manifold. Let's actually, I'll let off the map file because that's a whole lot of stuff. We drag and drop that into the map file. We can now import data from all those different files at the same time in one go into Manifold. So here's our UNESCO sites drawing. Here is the UNESCO table from that we imported from the GPackage. GPackage has the ability to save manifold formatting, so that's we imported it from there. Here are the Roman battles drawing that we imported from the GeoJSON. Here's this half gigabyte TIFF that we imported. We imported the data from that GeoTIFF. This is a NAIP file, National Agriculture Imagery Program file that shows downtown Redding, California, in a remarkably good resolution. Here's another different image file, Ginevra, which is used. This is the Ginevra da Vinci portrait by Leonardo da Vinci that's used as an example in many Manifold videos and examples. And here's the Civil War battle sites table that was imported from the CSV. So, and here's the UNESCO World Heritage spreadsheet that was imported from the XLX. All these files were imported. Manifold knew automatically, based on the file extension, which data port to use to bring them in. It doesn't use GDAL or anything like that. This is all actually native Manifold. Manifold understands hundreds of different formats, so it imports them all native. And all that works automatically. It all happens automatically for you. And if we wanted to, we could have linked all these as well. So let's do that. Save changes now. Let's start afresh. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag and shift drop those in. And now I've linked all those into the file. And I've linked a whole bunch of them at once, and I've linked them from all these different formats. And as you can see, it's slightly slower to bring the stuff in from the TIFF when you're linking it as opposed to using it in Manifold format, because Manifold format is way faster than any of these other formats. But all that stuff still works, and it's all now linked from the file, and all that works very conveniently. And this is actually a great way of looking at what different files contain if you're using a Manifold viewer. because you can leave the data in the actual file, so you can link them in, then you can see what they contain, and all that is extremely convenient. Let's look at a few more sophisticated things. Let's start again, fresh, save changes. No. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the Mexico map, and I'm going to link the Mexico map as by shift dragging and dropping into the project, and here I've opened it up as a data source. Now what I can do is I want to demonstrate how, depending on the context, when we click on the Mexico data source, we're making that the focus. Anything we now drag and drop into the project is going to be dragged and dropped into that Mexico project, Mexico database. Of course, if we have read-write permission on that project. So for example, we take the shapefile, drag and drop it into the map. It'll ask us drop files into the data source Mexico. Yep, okay, click OK. And what it's just done is it's taken, it's imported data from the UNESCO sites shapefile, and it has created a drawing within the Mexico map data source that we've created here. If that was a GDB or something like that, we could drag and drop into the GDB. In fact, let's go get us a GDB. I'll start afresh so we can, so we'll see this without any clutter. And I happen to have another Windows Explorer open site here, and what I'll do is let's search for Windows Explorer for any file names that are called GDB. That's the actual syntax that you use if you want a file that is entirely named GDB. This is a Windows Explorer thing. It's not a Manifold thing. That's just how Windows Explorer works. And so let's take well, here's one called Boston Areas. So let's take that and shift drag and drop, and so we'll link that into the project, and we pop up an areas. There's an areas table. This shows a GDB that we created with Manifold, and we have full read-write permissions on this Esri file geodatabase, so we can save stuff into it that we create. If we want, what we could do is we could take the UNESCO sites drawing, shapefile drawing, and with the focus on the Boston Areas GDB database, we can take the shapefile and we can drag it and drop it in here, drop files into the data source. Yep, okay. And what it's automatically done is within this Boston Areas GDB data source, it has created a UNESCO sites drawing. So that's actually a very convenient way if you want to drag and drop shapefiles into an Esri GDB. Just link the GDB into your project and then drag and drop away. You can drag 100 of them if you want all at once, and they'll all work perfectly. So what have we learned to do so far? We've learned how to import files by dragging and dropping them into the project. We've learned how to link files by dragging and shift dropping into the project. We've learned that if you want to drop something into a data source, you just highlight the data source to put the focus there and drag and drop into the data source. If you don't have that, but you're working down here in the main part of the project without that data source highlighted, anything you drag and drop is going to go into the main part of the project. So we've learned how to do that. We've learned how that you can do all sorts of tricky things within Windows Explorer. So for example, let's take a look at Windows Explorer here, where we're looking at a folder here that has a whole bunch of subfolders. Let's say we want to find, and I'm going to clear this out again, file, new, save changes now. And let's say I want to find every file that has SHP in the name, so that'll give us all the shape files. We can see that in this subfolder called Pentagon Labs OSM District Columbia, there's a shapefile. Let's pick that one, and let's see, go down here, and here's another one in the folder called Open Space. Is in the shapefile. Let's pick that one there. I'm control clicking these, and down here there's one mixlat long. All right, and what I've done is I've control clicked to select in Windows Explorer these to highlight in Windows Explorer these three shapefiles. If I drag them and drop into the project, Manifold will import data from those three shapefiles, even though they are in three different file folders. So that's a very convenient way of cruising through folders, folder hierarchies that may have hundreds or even thousands of files in them to find exactly the file that you want, and to drag and drop it into the project to import data from that file or from that data source into the project. Or if you want, let's save changes now. What we can do is we can drag, and now I'll press Shift drop to link those three data sources. I've just linked those three different shape files that live in three different Windows folders into my project. And you can see that when I pop them open, these are all the building footprints in Washington, D.C. This is Mexico and latitude, longitude. These are zip code tabulation areas in Connecticut. All this stuff is so convenient to just kind of harvest data out of any place that you can see in Windows Explorer that I find myself not using File Open at all anymore these days. I just drag and drop stuff directly from Windows Explorer. It's a great way to take a look at stuff in Viewer. It's very easy to use. It pays to learn how to use advanced search capabilities in Windows Explorer, to learn how to use the search data box, so you can learn tricks like the syntax that it wants to get the file name GDB. Because if you're familiar with file geodatabases, you know that inside that folder there's about 1 million files that have GDB in their name. So you just want the one that's called GDB to open that one, and this is how you get to it. So you learn all that inside wisdom involved with working with Windows Explorer. It doesn't take long to learn, so you can find exactly the files that you want and very quickly open them. Open projects in Viewer or in Release 9, import data into Viewer Release 9, or link data into Viewer Release 9. So all that's fast, very convenient, easy to use, and I hope you enjoy it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Tell your friends about Manifold. Tell your friends about Manifold Viewer. Make sure you press that like button in YouTube to get plenty of likes for this video. And thanks for watching. Goodbye from Manifold Land. Well, that was fun. If you want to see more, visit us at www.manifold.net. As always, Manifold delivers the world's most advanced, highest quality spatial products for GIS and DBMS at a low price that you can afford. Once again, that's manifold.net. See you soon.